is WeatherScope.
Spring-like storms rumble across the southeast, generating tornadoes. And we're also reminded that winter is not over yet as a snowstorm stretches from the plains into the Midwest. Hello, everyone. I'm Warren Madden. Welcome to this edition of WeatherScope. This has been a snowbound Sunday for many of you in parts of Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa. Some major roads are closed as blowing and drifting snow continues to cause problems tonight. The same large weather system brought flooding rains and damaging storms to the southeast. Rivers and creeks have spilled over their banks, and there have been several reported tornadoes. We'll have live coverage of the snowy weather coming up in just a minute, but we'll begin with an update from the Forecast Center on the dangerous storms in the southeast. Here's Kristina Abernathy.
Thanks a lot, Warren. We're continuing to watch the southeast. Of course, as you mentioned, the threat of severe weather. We have a couple of watches, a severe thunderstorm watch and a tornado watch, and we also have the potential for heavy rain. A lot of areas have already seen a lot of flooding, and the rain continues to fall. Here's the situation. Plenty of Gulf moisture flowing in ahead of our cold front, and as that moves through, we're dealing with a lot of wet weather here and also storms. Some of these storms have the potential to be severe, so you'll want to watch out for that. But this entire area dealing with rain and dealing with the potential for thunderstorms. Certainly one area that's been affected across the southeastern U.S. has been the Atlanta area with a lot of wet weather here, and unfortunately many creeks and rivers across the area are running high and muddy tonight. You've had about over 3 inches of rain this weekend, and as always, use caution and avoid trying to drive through flooded areas. So we've had flooding. We've also had severe weather, including tornadoes and also reports of hail across the southeast through the Carolinas and into Georgia. We're also dealing with some of that in Kentucky, and we'll have more on that coming up a little later on. But several reports of tornadoes here, and we've also had reports of hail in Georgia and in South Carolina. A couple of watches to tell you about: a severe thunderstorm watch here from the Ohio Valley southward into Georgia, and also a tornado watch box here in southeastern Georgia on into northern and central Florida. A look at the radar will show just what we're dealing with. Quite a line of storms here extending from southeastern Georgia back into northern Florida. And again, there's a potential that some of these could be severe, and some of these could even spawn tornadoes. So that's certainly something to keep in mind. Also, we have some flood warnings in effect here in southeastern Georgia in Atkinson and Coffee and Jeff Davis, Bacon and Appling County. So some rough weather here, and certainly some rough weather into northern Florida. Look out Lake City, look out Gainesville. These storms headed your way. You'll also want to look out to the south around the Tampa Bay area as we see these storms here are going to be headed in your direction. To the north around Atlanta, a brief break, and then more rain and storms to the west will be moving in. You can see that beginning to move into the southwestern part of the metro area. And then to the north, rain here too through Tennessee and into Kentucky, and we do have some storms embedded within this, so look out. You too are under a watch box, a severe thunderstorm watch box. We've seen some pretty impressive rainfall totals so far, and because of all of this rain, the threat for flooding exists here. Flood watches in effect for South Carolina, Georgia, parts of Alabama, and into the panhandle of Florida. Well, we've talked a lot about El Nino recently, and the recent rains that we're dealing with in the southeast can at least in part be blamed on El Nino, but we are going to be dealing with some changes coming up and to a more non-typical El Nino scenario. The Arctic Express is going to be arriving, and with that some cold air, the northern branch of the jet stream becoming the dominant branch. And again, this is going to be a scenario a little more typical of what we would see during a non-El Nino year. So look out, cold temperatures in the eastern U.S., and that's not good news because of things have been so warm recently. A lot of things are in bloom, and that could be in jeopardy. So we'll have more on this coming up in the forecast, and more information if you need it. If you're going to be away from your TV set, please be sure to check us out at weather.com. We've got a lot of snow to talk about, and for that we head back to the studio with Warren.
Thanks, Kristina. You're stuck at home tonight in parts of the plains and the Midwest as a snowstorm brings much of the region to a standstill. The snowplows were out in force today in Omaha, Nebraska, but blowing snow made driving conditions quite treacherous. A 250-mile stretch of Interstate 80 across Nebraska was closed for a second day. A foot of snow has fallen, and many cars and trucks either were getting stuck or were being blown off the road. We have two crews covering this wintry side of the story. Kristen Dodd standing by in Milwaukee, and in Topeka, Kansas, Jim Cantore is also standing by with a live report. Jim.
Hey, Warren, you can relate to this, man. We got an old nor'easter here right in the plains, a good old-fashioned blizzard, and it is cranking up tonight. Temperatures dropping to the 20s, wind chills below zero, and it is still snowing. And I think the most amazing thing to me is how little snow can produce big drifts. And think about it. All the way up in Lincoln, Omaha, Des Moines, they've got big snow, and that's producing big drifts. So a lot of big problems in the major thoroughfares up there. But we got problems of our own here. Let me go ahead and take you out to U.S. Highway 75. This is what we saw earlier today. Roads closed. That is the big deal. Sending cars and trucks off the roads all afternoon as we had near whiteout conditions as the storm intensified a little bit, got a little surge of moisture, and we actually had some heavy snow come down for several hours this afternoon, and then the winds picked up and blew it all around and actually dried out the wet snow that we had this morning. You're looking just across the street, which is where we are at the 470-70 interchange, at several trucks which continue to sit and wait till we get the interstate. Anyone trying